madness? It's a word we throw around pretty casually, right?
Yeah, we do.
We usually treat it as a subtraction.
Yeah.
A loss of function. The lights go out, the logic disconnects, and you're left wandering in the dark.
Right. Something's been taken away.
Exactly. But I want to start today by flipping that on its head. What if madness isn't a break from reality? What if it's an absolute unfiltered overload of it?
And that is, I think, the terrifying question at the core of what we're looking at today. Imagine having no filter at all.
Oh, man.
Imagine seeing the past, the present, the future, every metaphor, every single hidden connection, all just screaming in your face simultaneously. That isn't a malfunction. It's a hyperfunction.
Too much function.
Way too much.
Yeah.
And the human mind, or, even the undead mind, it's just not built to hold all of that.
And that brings us to our deep dive. Today, we are doing a forensic reconstruction of a very specific, and I mean very chaotic, window of time. We're looking at the time of Thin Blood, and specifically the final nights of June 1999. We've got this stack of fragmented accounts.
It's a real mix.
Yeah, journals from a mad prophet, the internal monologue of a clinically depressed prince, and these desperate, eyewitness accounts of a supernatural war in Atlanta.
It's a mosaic of the apocalypse, really. We're tracking a series of events that seem, on the surface, completely unrelated.
Right.
You've got a man washing his jeans in Bosnia, a robbery in an abandoned mansion in Georgia, and a cave vigil in New Mexico.
They sound like three different stories.
They do. But our mission today is to show that these are not random events. They're the gears of a machine. A machine that was built by the Malkavian clan to try and save their entire species from extinction.
And we're talking about the prophet of Gehenna, Anatole. This is a guy who is effectively the patient zero for the end of the world.
He is the focal point.
So where do we find this legendary figure? Is he on a throne? Is he in some, high-tech war room?
No, not even close. He is standing on a stone terrace in Sarajevo, washing a pair of knockoff Levi's in the Miljacka River.
Let's just zoom in on that image for a second.
Yeah.
Sarajevo, June 1999. The city has been absolutely hammered by conflict.
It's a scar.
It really is. A scar on the map of Europe. And here is Anatole. Can you describe him for us? Because the visual here it's distinct.
It is a study in contradictions. I mean, if you just walked past him, your brain would immediately categorize him as homeless or, deranged.
Okay.
He is filthy. He's wearing these tattered rags that, once upon a time might have been a monk's habit. His hair is this matted blonde disaster.
Right.
Accidental dreadlocks formed by pure neglect and dirt, and they're completely obscuring his face. He looks like he walked right out of a 12th century penitent's cell.
Okay, so a medieval ascetic. But then you look at the accessories.
Precisely, that's where it gets weird. On his feet,
Yeah.
brand new high-end Birkenstocks.
Laughing slightly. Of course.
And then, when he finishes washing his jeans, he pulls out a wallet and pays a cab driver with a crisp, mint-condition American $20 bill.
I love that detail so much. It feels like a glitch in the Matrix. Why the Birkenstocks? Why the crisp cash? It doesn't fit.
Well, it's Anatole's way of navigating what he calls the terrain of time.
The terrain of time.
He doesn't live in the past or the present. He inhabits both simultaneously. The rags are his history, his time as a holy man, a creature of the Dark Ages.
Okay.
But the sandals and the cash are his tools for the modern night. He understands that to survive the coming storm, he can't be purely ancient. He has to, hack the modern world.
So he's at the riverbank and he starts this whole ritual. He strips down, which, by the way, the text says reveals he's physically perfect, not starving at all.
Not at all.
And he starts beating his clothes against the rocks. Then he just takes a knife and hacks off all his hair.
It's a shedding of skin. It's a baptism. You have to remember, in his mind, Anatole believes he is walking into his own death.
He's preparing.
He is cleaning the vessel for a sacrifice. But you have to look at where he's standing. This isn't just any riverbank. He is standing in the literal footprints of Gavrilo Princip,
The guy who shot Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
the man who started World War I. For Anatole, geography is destiny. He believes that specific spots on the earth are bruised by history.
That's a great phrase.
So he's standing there in 1999, but he's hallucinating. Or maybe, accurately seeing 1914. He sees the blood of the Archduke overlapping with the blood of the recent Balkan Wars. It's all one event to him.
The text mentions he sees a wolfling and eaglet.
Yeah, that's his internal shorthand, his own sort of mythology. The wolfling is the assassin, right? The agent of chaos. The eaglet is the Archduke, the symbol of the old dying order.
Okay.
And in his vision, They don't just die. They turn into bronze statues and then they melt into slag.
So he's seeing history itself becoming unstable.
The heat of the violence is literally melting the timeline. The solidity of the past is turning into liquid.
And then he does something that it really borders on reality warping. He walks up to the plaque, the one commemorating the assassination, and he runs his finger over the date, 1914.
And in his mind, or maybe not just in his mind, he physically pushes the numbers. He changes 1914 to 1999. He changes the names.
With who?
The Archduke becomes Petrodon, a vampiric Justicar who was assassinated just days before this.
Oh, wow.
And the assassin becomes a prince. He is rewriting the historical record in real time. He is telling himself, the cycle is restarting, the gun has been fired, the Great War is here.
It's fascinating because he's treating time like a Spotify playlist. He's just hitting repeat on the track that's labeled Catastrophe.
Or maybe he's just the first one to realize the track was on loop the whole time and nobody else noticed.
That's a chilling thought. So he leaves Sarajevo, he gets on a plane to Atlanta, and this flight, this is where we really see the madness part of the Malkavian condition. Just take the wheel. He buys out the entire first-class cabin, so he's sitting there all alone, but he's not, reading the in-flight magazine. He's drawing on the floor in chalk.
He is channeling. The source text describes him sensing this glittering star in the east that suddenly opens into a giant eye.
The eye. We see this symbol pop up a lot in the lore around this time. What are we looking at here? Is this, like, Sauron?
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
This is widely believed to be the psychic projection of Hazamel.
Okay.
Hazamel is a Ravnos Methuselah. You can think of him as a demigod of the vampire world.
Yeah.
A sleeping giant.
And he's waking up.
He's waking up in the east.
Yeah.
And his consciousness is so massive, so radioactive, that it is physically hurting the minds of sensitive vampires across the entire globe. Anatole is feeling the shockwaves of a god waking up from a nap.
And his response to this cosmic psychic event is to draw animals in chalk on the carpet of a 747.
Yes, he draws a snake,
A mongoose.
a dragon.
Me.
They're symbols. They represent the geopolitical chessboard of the night. The snake is the Setites, the clan of corruption and secrets. The dragon is probably the Simisha, the masters of change in flesh. The mongoose, that's likely the Ravnos themselves, or maybe just the chaotic element that's fighting the snake. He sees this great cosmic battle playing out in these simple symbols.
But then the vision shifts. It gets weirder. He draws a line on the floor, walks along it, and suddenly he's not on a Boeing 747 anymore.
No, he's in an elevator.
An elevator.
This is the dissociation. He enters a chimerical reality, a waking dream. He feels the physical sensation of descending down, down, down past the crust of the earth.
Wow.
The air turns to water. He's drowning, but he's calm. He feels himself float out into this massive underwater cavern that's filled with sleeping giants.
He calls them dogs.
He does. He looks at these titanic, slumbering monsters, the antediluvians and progenitors of all the vampire clans, and he realizes he is just a flea.
That's a huge perspective shift.
It's a moment of pure cosmic horror. We usually think of vampires as these apex predators, right? At the top of the food chain.
Sure.
But here, Anatole realizes that he is the prey. The things that have been sleeping in the earth are going to wake up, and when they do, they are going to be hungry.
So the apocalypse isn't a political dispute between factions. It's a geological event. The earth itself is going to eat them.
Exactly. And to survive a geological event, you need a geological solution. Which leads us, finally, to Atlanta.
Right. Okay, let's ground this for a second. While Anatole is having his psychic deep-sea diving trip at 30,000 feet, we have a very different drama playing out in Georgia. We need to talk about Benison.
Benison is, well, he's heartbreaking. He's the prince of Atlanta, which means he's the supreme authority in the city, the big boss.
But he's a Malkavian.
A Malkavian who has lost his anchor. His wife, Eleanor, is dead. And without her, his sanity is completely untethered.
He's described as being in and out of torpor, which is the vampire coma, right?
Yes. But normally, vampires enter torpor for decades, sometimes centuries. Benison is slipping in and out of it on a nightly basis. He's profoundly depressed. He's grieving. And because his mental walls are just gone, the madness network, the cobweb, is leaking in.
And he shares a dream with Anatole, the cauldron dream. The imagery here is so visceral. Can you walk us through it?
Yeah, it's intense. He sees a stranger, who we know is Anatole, standing over a massive iron cauldron.
Okay.
The handles of this pot are shaped like snakes. And the stranger, Anatole, he grabs the handles, and they are white hot. They sizzle. They burn the flesh right off his hands all the way down to the bone.
But he doesn't let go.
He doesn't let go.
Why? What's he cooking in this thing?
Suffering. He's cooking suffering.
Yeah.
The water in the pot turns to blood. And as Benison looks into the boil, he sees a replay of his own personal trauma.
Oh, no.
He sees the woman who betrayed him, a Tremere warlock named Hannah, turning into a snake and strangling a woman who represents his dead wife, Eleanor.
So it's a vision of his own betrayal. But it's more than that, isn't it? It's also a set of instructions.
It is, correct. The dream gives him a fetch quest. It plants an obsession in his mind. He needs to find the Robe of Nessus.
Wait, I have to stop you there. Robe of Nessus. That is a very specific Greek myth reference.
It is.
For anyone who doesn't know, the centaur Nessus gives a poisoned shirt to Hercules' wife, telling her it's a love charm. Hercules puts it on, and the poison literally burns him alive. He tries to rip the shirt off, but it pulls his own flesh off with it.
It is the ultimate symbol of love that kills,
Yeah.
or, betrayal disguised as a gift. And Benison wakes up, completely obsessed. He has to go to the ruined Tremere Chantry, the warlock headquarters in Atlanta, to find this robe.
And the scene where he enters the chantry is just straight out of a gothic horror story. It's empty, it's totally silent, but there's a mirror.
The mirror is the psychological pivot point of this whole section. Benison looks into this magical mirror expecting to see his reflection. Instead,
What?
he sees a smooth, flesh-toned oval where his face should be.
No eyes, no mouth, no features.
Nothing. A tabula rasa. A complete blank slate.
That is genuinely terrifying. What is the source material telling us there? Is he, invisible?
No, it's not literal invisibility. It's identity death. The mirror is showing him his spiritual state.
I see.
He isn't Benison the prince anymore. He isn't Benison the husband. He is nobody. He has been completely hollowed out by grief, and crucially, being hollow makes him the perfect vessel.
He's an empty cup.
An empty cup waiting to be filled.
He finds the robe. It's stained with blood-cursed, treacherous blood. He takes it back to his haven, and he thinks he's going to use it to kill his enemies. He thinks this is the start of his revenge story.
He's operating under action movie logic, I get the super weapon, I killed the bad guys, the end. But he's not in an action movie. He's in a religious horror story.
Because Anatole shows up at his door.
Anatole arrives, and you have to note the transformation here. He isn't the dirty, dreadlocked hippie from Sarajevo anymore.
Yeah.
He's showered. He's shaved his head. He's wearing clean, modern, performance outdoor gear like Patagonia or North Face. He looks like a serious traveler. He looks like a pilgrim on a holy quest.
And the interaction here is so tense. Benison is standing there holding this cursed robe. Anatole walks in, and Benison just knows.
He has this moment of absolute horrifying clarity. He realizes he didn't come for the robe. He came for me.
Okay. This brings us to probably the most controversial part of the lore. Diablerie. The amaranth. For the listeners who aren't steeped in the mechanics of this world, this is the big one. This is vampiric cannibalism. You drain another vampire dry, and then you keep drinking until you consume their very soul.
And in doing so, you gain their power, their skills, their memories. You literally absorb their existence into your own.
In vampire society, this is the ultimate taboo. It is the unforgivable sin. If you are caught doing this, you are hunted down and executed on the spot.
Instantly.
No.
No trial. It stains your aura with these visible black veins. It is considered an act of pure, irredeemable evil.
But here, in this scene, it's framed completely differently.
It's framed as a sacrament, a holy necessity. Benison looks at Anatole and he realizes that Benison is too weak, too broken to finish his mission. He can't get revenge on the Sabbath alone. He's a ghost of himself.
But if he lets Anatole consume him...
Then Anatole inherits the mission. Anatole inherits the rage.
Anatole inherits the beef.
Crudely put, but yes,
Oh.
exactly. Anatole absorbs Benison's drive, his intimate knowledge of the city, his political connections, and his raw generational power. It is a merger, not a murder.
And Benison asks him, is this the end?
And Anatole tells him, no, it is a becoming.
And Benison submits. He doesn't fight it. He hands over the robe, and then he just offers his neck.
It's a form of suicide, really. A kind of assisted suicide via holy cannibalism. Anatole's beast comes out, the claws, the fangs, and he tears Benison apart. But the narrative treats it with this strange, somber reverence. It's not a murder scene. It's a biological data transfer.
So now we have Anatole 2.0. He's been upgraded, he has the prophetic vision of the ancient mystic, and now he has the political power and the burning personal vengeance of an Atlanta prince. He
Yes,
is power leveling for the final boss fight.
he is gathering resources.
Yes.
Because where he's going next, he can't just be a philosopher, he needs to be a warrior.
Well, speaking of warriors, while this quiet spiritual drama is happening in a mansion, there is an absolute bloodbath going down across town. We need to shift gears to Victoria Ash.
Yes, Victoria Ash. She is the perfect counterpoint to Anatole. He's a Malkavian obsessed with truth and vision and the inner world.
Hey.
Victoria is a toreador obsessed with beauty, sensation, art, and social standing. She is the queen of apple. She's the kind of person who is usually found sipping blood wine at a fancy gala.
But not tonight. Tonight she is in a train yard, in the mud.
She is deliberately returning to the scene of her greatest trauma. She was captured and tortured in this very train yard by a Simic vampire named Elford.
The source material uses the term flesh crafter. We should probably explain that because it's genuinely nauseating.
It is. The Tsimis clan possesses a discipline called vicissitude. It allows them to mold skin, bone, and muscle like it's wet clay. They don't just cut you, they reshape you.
Oh, God.
They can pull your ribs out through your skin to make a cage of bone armor. They can fuse your fingers together to make sharp blades. Elford had turned Victoria into a living, screaming sculpture of pain.
And she's back for payback. That takes some serious guts.
It does. She is there to reclaim her body, her agency. But she walks right into a trap. She's ambushed by Elford and his ally, Sebastian, a La Sombra bishop who can control and manipulate shadows.
So 2-on-1?
Huh.
And Elford. Can you describe this guy? Because Monster doesn't really do it justice.
No, it doesn't. He has modified himself into a walking nightmare. He's described as skeletal, with limbs that are way too long, folded up like a praying mantis, but he has this distended, massive, swollen belly. He looks like a starvation victim who is also somehow pregnant with something terrible. And his skin has been hardened into a bone-like carapace. He is a tank made of pure body horror.
Victoria is in serious trouble, but then the cavalry arrives. Enter the general.
I adore the general. He's another Malkavian, but his particular madness, his delusion, is very specific.
Which is?
He believes utterly and completely that he's a hoplite, a Greek soldier from the Battle of Thermopylae. He speaks in these clipped military aphorisms. He talks about honor and phalanxes and holding the line.
But he doesn't fight with a spear and a shield. He fights with, is it the weather?
He used the discipline of protean. Shape-shifting. He can turn into a wolf. He can turn into mist. At one point in the fight, he becomes a localized tornado of debris and rage. It's this wild contrast. A mind that's stuck in 480 BC, but a body that is a fluid, shifting, elemental weapon.
The fight scene is just brutal. Elford is throwing these sharpened bone spurs. Sebastian's trying to choke people with living shadows. The general takes a hit right. He gets impaled.
He does. Elford manages to spear him right through the chest. And he thinks he has the general dead to rights. He thinks it's over.
Big mistake.
Huge mistake. Because this is where the madness or, the genius of the Malkavian shines. The general turns into mist while he's still impaled on the spear.
Which means what?
That means he flows down the spear. He flows into the open wound in Elford's body. He literally gets inside the flesh crafter.
Oh, wow. That's an effective strategy.
It is horrifyingly efficient. He then resolidifies, or maybe just rapidly expands, from the inside out. He bursts Elford apart. The text describes it like a piece of overripe fruit just exploding.
A poetic end for its Tsimis.
The man who obsessed over reshaping flesh is finally completely destroyed by his own medium.
Victoria then finishes off the shadow wielder, Sebastian, with a quarterstaff, proving she's not just a pretty face. But the aftermath of this fight is what's really important for our main story.
Yes, absolutely. Victoria survives, but she crashes her car while fleeing the scene. Her body is broken, but she heals almost instantly. And that rapid, supernatural healing triggers a memory, a sudden realization.
She connects the dots back to Leopold.
Leopold, the young wizard we are about to meet in the cave. Victoria has a flash of memory and realizes that she might be his sire. She might be the mother of the very person who is the architect of the apocalypse.
So she created the monster that Anatole is now going to visit.
Exactly. It ties the whole narrative together in this beautiful, tragic way. The Toreador, the clan of beauty, Victoria, she created the form, the artist.
And Malkavian, the clan of madness Anatole, is about to provide the spirit.
Precisely.
Which brings us to the climax, Section 5, the cave. Anatole leaves Atlanta. He travels west to the desert.
He goes to a massive cave system. The text heavily implies it's Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico. He descends deep into the earth, just like his vision on the plane predicted he would. And there, deep in the dark, he finds Leopold.
And Leopold is building something, a sculpture.
It's more than a sculpture. It's a geomantic web. It's this massive, impossible structure made of quartz and stone and grafted flesh. It's a machine, but it runs on magic and earth energy, not electricity. Leopold has been building it to channel the energy of the earth itself. He's trying to tap into the Neely lines of the planet.
And Anatole he just moves in.
He just sits down. He sits in vigil for 40 days and 40 nights.
The biblical symbolism again.
Always. He doesn't eat. He doesn't hunt. He sits in a shaft of sunlight during the day, which, for a vampire, is agony. It burns him, it blisters his skin, and then he heals at night. He is cooking himself. He is burning away the last remnants of Anatole.
He's dissolving his ego. He's making himself a blank slate, just like Benison.
He is. And he comes to a realization. The sculpture is perfect, but it's inert. It's hardware with no software. It's a massive radio tower with no signal being broadcast. It needs a consciousness to inhabit it. It needs a CPU.
And he decides, well, I'm the CPU.
I am the ghost in this machine.
But the preparation for this final act it's gruesome. He takes the robe of Nessus, the one he got from Benison, and he drapes it over a female figure in Leopold's sculpture.
Final offering.
And then he climbs a massive central quartz spire, but he stops before the top. He takes a sword, or maybe just his own claws, and he hacks off his own right arm.
Why does he do that? That is the question that hangs over this whole scene.
Yeah, why? If you're about to merge with the rock and become this godlike network, why leave a piece of yourself behind?
He needs an anchor. He needs a physical receipt to prove that he was there. If he merges completely, he just vanishes from history. By leaving the arm, he leaves a physical object that is both him and also dead. It creates a kind of metaphysical bridge between the living rock and the dead flesh.
It's a paradox.
Is it?
And then the jump.
He throws himself onto the quartz spike. He impales himself right through the chest.
Now, in any other story, this is suicide. The protagonist dies. Roll credits. The end.
But here, physics takes a backseat to metaphysics. When his heart strikes the quartz crystal and his blood washes over the stone, he doesn't die. He diffuses. His physical body just melts into the rock. His consciousness spreads out along the crystal lattice of the entire cave system. He uploads himself into the planet.
He becomes the Madness Network.
Before this exact moment, the cobweb was just this vague psychic connection between Malkavians, voices in the head, weird hunches, prophetic dreams.
Yeah.
After this moment, it is a structured, coherent information superhighway. Anatole is the server. He is the admin. He is the signal.
So let me get this straight. He ate a prince to get the power to travel to a cave where he hacked off his own arm and jumped on a spike, all so he can become a Wi-Fi router for vampire prophecy.
When you say it like that, it sounds completely absurd.
Yeah.
But yes,
Yes.
That is exactly what happened. He sacrificed his individuality to ensure that every single Malkavian on Earth would be connected, would hear the warning.
The warning being?
The antediluvians are waking up. Run. Hide. Gehenna's here.
Let's look at the evidence left behind at the scene. Section 6. 2 other vampires, Haisha and Ramona, they track him down later.
Right. Haisha Rohadze, a Setite scholar. A creature of logic and history and reason, he enters the cave expecting a fight or a monster or a madman. Instead, he finds a cathedral of silence. The cave feels
Healed.
peaceful, but wrong, deeply wrong.
And he finds the arm on the floor and the body on the spike.
He finds the arm. And being a scholar, he doesn't just look, he analyzes it, he picks it up. And he notices that the ancient dead blood on the severed arm smells exactly like the ambient air in the cave.
There's no distinction.
No distinction at all. The vampire is the room.
That's such a creepy, subtle detail. It's not that Anatole is hiding in the cave, it's that the walls are made of him.
And Haisha, the logician, has this moment of dawning horror. He realizes he can't kill Anatole. You can't kill the atmosphere. You can't stab a radio signal. Anatole is one. He has achieved a strange kind of immortality, but at the cost of his humanity, or I guess his vampirity.
So, bringing it all back to the start, we asked if madness was a break from reality or an overload of it. Anatole seems to prove it's the overload.
Absolutely.
He saw the end of the world coming, and he broke himself into a million pieces so he could be everywhere at once to try and stop it.
Or, at the very least, to warn everyone about it. He illustrates that in a system that is fundamentally broken, a world where ancient, sleeping gods are waking up to eat their own children, Rational behavior is a death sentence.
It's the same choice that gets you killed.
The only way to survive a crazy world is to be crazier than the world is.
To understand the breaking world, you have to break with it.
Precisely. Anatole stopped trying to preserve his own identity. He realized that the individual Anatole didn't matter. Only the network mattered. He became the signal.
But that leaves us with a very lingering question, a bit of an existential itch for the whole Malkavian clan. If Anatole is the network now, and all Malkavians are connected to that network.
Are there any individual Malkavians left?
Exactly. Are they still people with free will, or are they just terminals for Anatole's consciousness?
It is the hive mind theory made real. If you hear a voice in your head, a sudden prophetic insight, and it's Anatole's voice. Are you thinking it, or is he thinking you?
And if you happen to be a Malkavian listening to this deep dive right now, is he listening to us through you?
I would assume he is always listening.
Well, on that comforting thought, thanks for taking the plunge with us. This was a heavy one.
It was a necessary one, though. The signs are there for those who know how to read the madness.
Keep your eyes open. And maybe watch out for guys washing their jeans in a river. You never know who they might be.
Indeed. Until next time.
Thanks.